Okay, alright, let's see. Let's get my heater up and moving. Get everything back up and running in my car here. Hello, and welcome back to my car. So, today, I wanted to talk about something. Well, I'm on my way home from work. It's the day after Christmas, so right after my other video. And, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about something, you know? So, in video games, you know, from time to time, you get a second release, a third release, a fourth release, and not every time is it a profound difference or major change or anything. Maybe the graphics, maybe the character creation might be a little better, maybe the storyline is more well thought out. You know, maybe everything's a little more balanced. So, I mentioned before, I've been playing The Sims 4. What major changes can come when you have a game that is A, highly addictive, and B, you're coming out with the fourth one? You know, so when you have a game that's highly addictive like that, you tend to get a certain kind of group of people that can be kind of, you know, obsessive over the things that made it so addictive. And if you change even the tiniest thing, it is not a pretty picture, right? So, because, you know, people get upset over that kind of crap. Well, in The Sims 4, there's a lot that has been done differently, but not outright changed. For instance, I noticed in the creation of a house, you can natively add basements and pools, which normally was not doable before. In Sims 3, I had to have a DLC to be able to do either of those. And since it's integrated into the core game, it makes a serious difference in the playability of just the core game. That doesn't mean you don't want to go get the other stuff. You still want to get the other things that go with the game. But it just means that there's so much more that you can add to your experience. Hell, if you wanted to, you could make a pool in your basement if you run out of room upstairs. Me, I want to make a pool that is the entire basement almost, except the changing room. You know, because there's got to be a bathroom or something. Maybe a kitchenette. But, you know, or maybe do like an outdoors themed basement where it's all kind of, you know, you have like a grill or something, right? So that's going too far. In The Sims 4, there's a lot of features that, I mean, the one that I spoke to the most in depth about it to a coworker was just the simplicity of being able to have your sim do multiple things at once. And I was telling a family member about this who used to play The Sims 1, 2, and 3. And I was telling them about how big of a difference it makes to things that you can have your sim do. Like my sim getting ready for work. He's done, everything's good to go. But he's a little hungry. You know, he needs a little something extra. but he really wants to watch TV. He hasn't had his fun for the morning. He hasn't had any fun. The fun meter thing is going down. I decide to throw him a bone. He's watching TV. He's watching a comedy channel. So he's having fun. He's relaxed. He's in a great mood. He's ready to go to work. But he's hungry. And I don't want him to cook a full course meal or anything, like a full meal or anything, before going to work, because that would just be a waste of time and he'd have to use the bathroom. And you get the picture. You see where I'm going. So I told him, normally you have to remove whatever's in his action bar or in your Sims action bar and then tell them to do something else. But depending on what the activity is, you can tell your Sim to do multiple things at once. And you'll see it stack in the action bar. So while he was watching TV, I went over to the refrigerator and told him to get out a thing of yogurt, something small to snack on. So with that said, the yogurt, the Get Food yogurt thing dropped down into the action bar while the TV was still there. So he gets up, he's looking at the TV while he's walking away from it. He gets up and he goes and proceeds to get a thing of yogurt. And then he goes back down and sits in front of the TV and continues watching whatever he was watching. That made a massive difference in what you can do in the game. Not just that, but the fact that the library has computers in it. The library had some computers. He could sit there and play video games or read or learn programming since he didn't have a computer at the time. There's so much you could do. And that got me thinking about the fact that in a game that's like an MMO, you can't really do that. The most you can do is say, in this next update, we're adding some major changes. And then everyone is going to flip their shit. Sorry, this is a, not a PG-13 conversation. But I do that very well. So, people flip their shit. Let's be honest. You're sitting there, you see the update coming, you read it, and immediately you see in the new, oh my goodness, you see in there where it says in the update the changes that are coming, and the immediate reaction is, what the multiple choice words of cussing, right? Well, there's usually a good reason for that. Usually, your favorite ultimate weapon is probably OP as hell. It's probably very much overpowered. You're probably thinking, I love that weapon so much, it's the only one that I ever use. Who cares if the DPS is too high? Guess what, folks? The DPS is too high. You already admitted to it, and now you're bitching because they fixed it and made it just toned down enough to still make it the ultimate all-powerful weapon, but other weapons are, able to compete against it. Or at least certain armors are able to compete against it. Maybe it was brought down a notch so that the best armor can directly compete against it. Without having some kind of special ability or some kind of special thing added to that weapon, hitting somebody with the armor that is equally as powerful as it would be like, shooting steel with a Nerf dart. See what I did there? Because your sword done got nerfed. So, in other MMOs, you have the situation where they need to change things out regularly. Not necessarily little tweaks to weapons here and there that you may or may not ever notice, but, they might completely phase things out and say, well, this was a bad idea, we need to completely remove it and replace it with something better. So they'll tweak it to make it useless so that you don't want to use it for a while. What's this guy even doing? Or they'll tweak it to make it, to make other things competent against it, or combative against it. But then you get into the territory where they're completely changing it out for something. And it's like, okay, I can handle you tweaking my favorite thing, but to now make it a rare item in the game because now it's impossible to find anymore because something better came along because it wasn't working, that's just a slap in the face. They might as well bring it back to what it used to be and make it so that it takes longer to swing the sword or whatever. Tweak its DPS, but change the reloading speed or whatever kind of weapon it is, right? I'm mostly talking like fantasy MMOs, right? I mean, I did mention a little gun shooting, but that's besides the point. For the most part, I've been referring to fantasy MMOs. What I really like, and I know it's technically not a MMO, RPG, or anything like that, but what I really like is World of Tanks. Oh yeah. See, they try to keep things to the same level as possible. And I just watched the trailer for their new tanks. And they're bringing in Swedish tanks into the game. So we have British, American, Russian, German, French, Italian, I think, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Swedish now. I don't even know what else. I probably forgot something or added something by accident. That's a lot of options, man. It is. It really is. It's a lot of options. But I like how well-rounded the Swedish tanks are going to be when they come out. Or if I missed the mark on that statement and they're out already. I like how well-rounded they seem to be. But in the thing that I watched, they even said, these are not the final numbers. And I don't remember when that came out. I just know that I forgot to watch it when it came out. And so I was very interested to see how well balanced they were. The main thing about these Swedish tanks is that they are, on average, a lot of them are lighter tanks than their counterparts, which means that they're also going to be a little faster, but weaker, but have very strong guns. So I'm seeing the Swedish tanks as kind of the glass cannon, if you know what I mean. I could be wrong on that when they're officially released, or if they are and they're not, and they tweak that a little bit, but what they gave them is faster, lighter, with more damage, but they're super weak compared to their counterparts. But they also have angled armor. A lot of them do. So there's still a possibility for them to be compatible against the same tier of tank. But the thing that I thought was the most exciting was the fact that the gun depression, the inclination and the depression of the main guns on the turrets, is has a pretty wide range. If you don't know what I'm referring to, the inclination is how high you can rise, how high you can aim the turret, and the depression is how low you can aim it. On average, a lot of tanks didn't have that good of a gun depression. So if you had a tiny little light tank, and you got right up to a big tank, the only thing it's going to do is try to back away. But if you're in a light tank and you're skirting it, you're either going to get past it and make it so that it can't really shoot you because it can't either A, aim down, or B, turn the turret fast enough, giving you a little more range of motion, long enough for you to get around behind it. And if they're really smart, they'll turn both the cannon and the body at the same time, unless you have them physically pinned down. Then I just use high explosive ammo and shoot the ground area. But, that'll do a lot of damage sometimes. But anyway, I digress. The pin on their weapons, the penetration value is pretty high as well, which I thought was interesting. So you're getting a literal glass cannon that can aim high and low, meaning they're very hard to get by. But some of their tanks are physically larger than others of the same tier. And they have more health. They might have thinner armor, but they have more health, meaning they can still take a beating for a little bit longer, but they're really going to be getting every hit and feeling it too. Again, the literal glass cannon. But as big as they are, with the gun depression that they have, they can practically shoot over hills without you ever being able to see them or shoot them. Which I thought was very impressive. I thought that was a really cool, idea. Because it gives them a different type of gameplay. Just like in World of Warships. Destroyers have torpedoes. Some cruisers might have torpedoes. Battleships normally won't have any. Carriers have, torpedo bombers, torpedo planes. But generally, the destroyers in World of Warships are the torpedoes. They're the ones that carry the bulk of the torpedoes. Well, now the Japanese destroyer line has an offshoot for the more aggressive, less sneaky off to the side character. They're fast. They're loaded with torpedoes normally. But this offshoot from the norm has less torpedoes and more artillery. Bigger artillery, stronger artillery than what their other destroyers in their line has. And adding that gives you a little more usage to the destroyer tech tree. So, personally though, my favorite ship was the Atlanta. Because that was one cruiser that was like, you just don't mess with it. With the Atlanta, it was crazy. It was, it was fast. It could fire really quickly, just one shot after the next, right back around to the reloading, right back around to the first shot reloading, you're firing. So it's like if you time it right, you have a never-ending stream of artillery coming downstream, going downrange to your target, just basically pounding them into submission. until they do something to throw you off, like lob torpedoes in your direction and blow you up by hitting you in the side of the hull. I've had this happen because you get so into the rhythm of how the Atlanta works that you forget to really pay attention to the torpedoes coming at you. And those things will destroy your ship no matter what it is. You know, oh, you just got that battleship, didn't you? Torpedoes. You know, it's like the bane of a battleship's existence. But I digress again. So, in terms of actual gameplay, small changes to tweaks and things like that won't really make a difference. Changing the turning speed of your tank or your battleship to a lower turning speed pisses people off. And I say that because now your favorite battleship is not as useful as it was before, because now the battleship above it, or maybe the one below it actually, is more useful, even if it's worse. Because you play with the biggest, fastest, and most guns. You like to play with the fast battleship. And your favorite fast one is no longer that. Fond memories aside, it's not good enough. So either find one that's better and upgrade everything up until you get to it, or go with a cruiser and kind of play the middle ground. You know, in terms of shooting games, the rate of fire that you're used to has just been cut down by X number of seconds, or rounds per second. Well, normally it's rounds per minute, so let's just say rounds per minute. You know, your favorite weapon's been cut down by rounds per minute by 10 rounds per minute. You know, you were at 20 rounds per minute. Now you're down to 10. Okay, maybe that's a bit too much. You were at 600 rounds per minute. Now you're down to 550. That makes a difference with something like a machine gun or an assault rifle. So that's something that people sometimes do and sometimes don't take into consideration, but there's usually a reason why they nerfed it. There's usually a reason why they changed that value to be less. Typically, that reason is that they found it to be too effective, and people mostly grouped around using that one type of ship, or that one group of ships were what were being used the most. And by lowering that value by a factor of 1 out of 100 was just the smallest amount to aggravate people enough to make them want to use something else for a little bit. Or maybe it didn't deter them at all, but it still made them more playable against other ships without being overbearing. Because God knows, if you have a good enough player in the right tank, ship, or aircraft, or with the right weapon or right set of weapons and armor, what's going to come out of it is bad for you. Oh, I could have gone. It took forever getting around. But, you know, typically speaking, you're stuck either changing weapons, armor, or whatever, or add-ons for your gun's weapon armor or whatever, and you just have to basically get over it. So, me, if I really enjoy using a ship and the tweaks done to it have not been that drastic, I generally don't even freaking notice. I'm not saying that I'm oblivious. I'm not saying that I don't pay that much attention. But honestly, with World of Warships, I just want to see big ships pummeling the crap out of each other for a good 15 minutes. And maybe last a few of those minutes. Sometimes I will follow the fleet in the same direction. Some days I'll say I'm in a battleship, I'm following the fleet, or I'm in, the Atlanta, I'm going to go off to the side and try to flank them. Oh, look, that's their main fleet. And then turn around and try to run while, shooting everything wildly. And then there's those days where I'll hide around the battleships, or I'll hide around the cruisers with a battleship and just provide protection by getting in the way of battleships firing in on them, physically blocking them from torpedoes. My personal favorite one is just assigning a group of fighter craft to chase after and follow a battleship, so that anything that gets nearby that battleship is automatically attacked from the air as well. I want to take the dirt road, but it has been raining all day. But yeah, I like to change it up every now and then. I will pick a destroyer. Sometimes I'll pick a carrier. Sometimes in World of Tanks, I'll go nuts and pull out the TOG. And if you play World of Tanks and you know what the TOG is, you know why I pull that thing out. Because it's hilarious. It's like the slowest tank in the game. It's also massive. It's literally a moving target with one gun. But it can actually turn that one gun relatively quickly. And it does a decent amount of damage if you have the right setup. So, it might be big, it might be slow, but it will hurt. And having a wall of TOGs come at you is both hilarious and a little frightening, because it's basically a wall, especially if you have a heavy, medium, or light, or a group of light tanks hovering around it or hiding behind it that you don't see right away, because the wall of TOG coming at you is blocking the light tanks from your view, but they know you're there. The minute you take out that TOG, they're right there waiting for you. Or the minute you decide it's a good idea to flank said aforementioned TOG, there's a bunch of light tanks sitting there giggling, waiting for you to come around the corner. Believe me, I've been one of them before. And then you get people responding in chat going, "Oh my god, I didn't know how many light tanks were back there. Why?" Either that, or you're that one asshole who goes right into the middle of a battlefield with a KV-1 or a KV-2 saying, "I'm invincible!" And because you know what you're doing, it's borderline impossible to take you out. Because you know just how to angle your tank's hull, you know how to angle the turret, you're constantly moving it, your shot is just perfect. You have good situational awareness, so you're always focused and paying attention to where everything is. Those kind of players, the ones that have been there too long and know what they're doing too well. I'm not one of those. When I play World of Tanks, it's because I want to see tanks blow each other up. And if that involves me ramming into your tank to get that laugh, I bloody will. Hey, they actually turned their light off first. Fantastic. So, I'm about to be where I need to be. I'm going to go on ahead and cut it here for now. But you know what? We'll return with another one of these in the morning on my way to work. Probably, maybe. I don't know. If I could think of something to talk about, I would. I almost couldn't today, but then I was like, you know what? I've been watching World of Tanks videos, and that video of the Swedish tank line really got me excited and interested in maybe reinstalling it because I had to wipe everything on my computer. Anywho, I'm going to go on ahead and say bye for now, folks. We will return with another one of these maybe in the morning.